maybe some of you had, with regard to they pack them in. So he said, Dad, spend the extra money, go priority, get in the first seat so you have the wall. He said, fresh air comes in at the front of the plane and exits the back of the plane. So if you like to breathe it for the 46th time, get the back seats. But if you don't, and you only want the pilots to breathe it before you do, then get the front seat.
Nice.
Good tip.
Yeah.
Okay. Our broadcast is about to start, so just
okay. It's 12:59, folks. Okay, are we ready, Allison? Okay, it's 1 o'clock and corporate services meeting will start. We'll call this to order. Disclosure of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof. Seeing none, consent agenda. Does anybody want to pull anything from there? No, it looks like that's good. So we'll go down to adoption of regular agendas.
thank you. So I have a motion for you, Madam Chair. A motion reads that the agenda be adopted, including consent items as circulated.
Mover and a seconder. Moved by John Betsworth. Seconded by Jim McIntyre. All in favor? That's carried. Moving down to reports from officials for direction, administration. CAO Kennard, would you like to speak?
I would, thank you, through the chair. One of probably the most frequent complaint I get in my office is lack of consistent internet in the township. And this morning was an excellent example. We've had the best turnout since we've gone to Zoom because people don't have to come into the chambers and wait. So they're participating a lot more, but people were struggling with their internet. So when people call me, I politely explain that internet is not a township or not a municipal service, and I really don't have much to offer them. They're generally not terribly happy with that response, and the people that call are well researched about what other townships are doing to assist in internet. So, and the mayor and I have been talking about this for a long time because I know his phone rings on this particular topic all the time, and I've really been struggling with what is it that we can do to help. So I just started talking to neighbors, and one led to another to try and find the solution that might help Severn. You might know that Ramera is providing some internet services. I didn't necessarily think that was the right approach for Severn. They've put about $500,000 into it, and it's not a municipal service. So I hate to give up that money that we can use for other things. And our township is unequally served, I would say. I don't know what the dynamics are in Ramera, but we have some really great internet in some places and some really bad internet in others. So it's hard to justify putting tax dollars to it like that people would want to spend it. So just from reaching out to different people, just trying to figure out what we can do to help without actually getting in the business of providing internet, because it's beyond our financial capacities and our expertise. I found this company that might help us just get started or get to attract the vendors. So what they do is do an analysis of what we have, strike relationships with the vendors, and then as funding comes out, which I understand there's supposed to be some great funding coming, that we've already made the connections with the local vendors to try and encourage them to expand. That's really it.
Member Burkett. You're mic'd. Mike, you're mic'd.
Sorry. Through the chair, thank you, Lori, for bringing this forward. I think without an actual plan, I know that there's monies that are going to be available to provide internet service, and I get inundated every day with calls. And I haven't said anything to council, but there is a gentleman that's providing a service for Ramera that I've been working with, but the struggle that I have with him is the cost, and he's able to provide it through a satellite, which may or may not work and I'm not sure of the cost, but I know that Romero has used him. But to Lori's comments, the $500,000 is hard to justify when we know the province now knows that there is an issue with internet. And if we can provide that service to all of our residents in a timely manner, and this is my concern, but without an actual plan, I think if we went with this company and they actually outlined all the areas within our township that are lacking or that have proper internet service, when the province does come through with funding, we can say to these providers, look what we have. We have this already all done for you, hoping that we can be first on board to provide that service for all of our residents.
Member Cox.
Yeah, through the chair to Lori. Yeah, thank you very much, Lori. I like this, and it sounds to me when I read the push link that they actually go out once they get themselves organized and talk to the other providers that are in their township or their municipality at time. And I know I read in that AMO alert or communication thing that the province had sent out money, and I guess if the municipality was one of the chosen ones, they would have found out if they got it, and obviously we weren't. But at least we're ready, as Member Briquette said. But it's also that they have contacts so that they know who are in the area and they might be able to get them in to help. So anyway, I think it's a great idea. I don't mind spending the money. It's in the modernization fund, and this is exactly what it's going to do, is modernize us. Thank you.
Anyone else? Member Taylor.
Yeah, well, just a couple of things. Out our way, that tower just went up, Bell Tower on Fell Line near Quarry Road. So like Bell's doing it, it's a business for them. Like they're in it to make money, and we really had no involvement in that. We agreed that we didn't object to the big tower going in. There's internet going into the Washago area. We had nothing to do with it. It's going through. It's a business venture, and the money still is coming out of the reserve funds, no matter what. And I don't know whether towers is the future anyway. The mayor mentioned a little bit about satellites, and I think the future is satellites with whoever it is, Elon Musk or all this stuff. All the infrastructure is just too much money, and I don't think I would support taking any more money out of our reserves funds. Save this for something else.
You Member Briquette? You're mic'd.
Sorry. Through the chair to Member Taylor's comments, I struggle because I hear from our residents, what are we doing? What are we doing to move forward with internet service? What is the township doing? Well, I say we can't do anything because we're not the ones that are supplying it. But I think if we can provide, if these guys can provide the service, let us know where we're lacking. Let us know what we need to do. If they can fight on our behalf when those monies become available, we can go. It's no different than the report we did years ago. I don't remember when we sent out a survey looking to our residents as to which areas were serviced, what type of internet they had, if they had any at all. I think this will at least give us a document and will help us when those monies become available. They can come in, those providers can come in and say, here, this is what we have. This is where we're lacking. This is where we need the service. This is where the towers are. Whether it's Bell or Rogers, we can feed off of there. And if there's a way that they can provide that service, I think for the $18,000, it's pretty minimal to provide that information for these companies.
Member Cox?
Yeah, through the chair to, and the thing is, it may not be towers. I mean, if you look around Coldwater, Rogers may come in and say, wow, look at all the people around here. We'll expand our service. So, and you may find that somebody may come in and say, we'll expand and do the satellite service. I don't think it says it's just towers. It says that they're looking at service providers. And with Rogers here, and I think Rogers is up at your end, Mike?
Hi, Judith.
Yes, it is.
And I think is it in Washago?
It is.
Anyway, Rogers is out there already. So if the Rogers got information from this consultant that said, look at all here and look at all here, they may go, oh, well, we could come in here and then we could do this. So I don't think it's just towers. I think they look for providers that are already there that could expand. But I could be wrong, but I think that's what it is.
Any other comments?
Yes, I'm here.
Thanks, Ron. So I'm not in favor of doing this. Premier Ford has said he's going to put $1 billion into Ontario. I've talked to Lori about it yesterday and again this morning. I talked to MPP Dunlop last night, again this morning. She said to talk to Minister of Infrastructure, Kinga Surma. Now, she called me yesterday afternoon and I missed her call. And, but Jill says if we get a letter off to Minister Kinga and to herself, she would find out exactly what's going to happen. Like Kinga sent me a quick email. It just said, basically, the government is going to come into your area, say, sign the permits. This doesn't cost you anything. You have to sign the permits to say that the Ontario government can work in your township. So to put another $18,000 into something that could just go onto the shelf because the Ontario government's already working on it, I would like to take this as information today, get a letter off to Minister Surma and find out exactly what's going on. There's no point in us spending money if we don't need to. So I won't be supporting this. I would like to take it for information today. Member McIntyre.
Through the chair, to the chair, after that comment, do we have a timeline when the Premier is going to bring this forward? Is it this year, next year, the year after? Have we had any idea when it's going to take place? Because if they say we're going to do it and it's not till 2 terms into his mandate, we don't. I'm looking for a timeline more than anything.
And Member McIntyre, I don't have a timeline. That's why I would like a letter to go to this minister. Describe what you're going to do, when you're going to do it, and how you're going to do it. Because for us to put $18,000 to $20,000 just out just to say they have it, they don't, they have it, they don't, I don't know that it's going to prove anything. And again, it's not the township's problem. And we just turned down a tower outside of Coldwater, and I see all the time on Facebook, on Anderson Line, how do I get internet? I don't know. I guess you wait, like everybody else.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Member Cox.
I think if you read the AMO alert that I did, it had all that about it. And I can't remember what the name of the website is, but it's the Ontario website. And when I tried to read it, and I did send it to the CAO, it was very convoluted and it didn't really say what was going on. It did say that there were people out there that would get internet, but they didn't specify, and they didn't even show a map or say anything about the areas. Okay. So that's where I was confused from. But my whole thing is, even with SWIFT, look how long we've been sitting there waiting for that. And we sent our information in. But anyway, I'm still in favor of this.
Excuse me just for a minute. Those that aren't speaking, can you mic? Because sounds like there's an airplane going over or something. Okay, Member Betsworth.
Thank you, through the chair. In light of the information we received this morning through Madam Chair, and the close contact that we have in maybe getting something substantial back, does it really hurt to wait for another meeting and just accept this for information only and then bring it forward? If we haven't had anything satisfactory within a month or so, let's go with this proposal.
So if you choose to go that way, Jill said to copy her too, because she said her Minister Kinga's stuff is just going to get piled up. To get her a copy too, and she would go straight to her staff. But she talked to her yesterday in the house, and like I said, she did try and reach out to me. I just was out snowblowing. So I would like to just take this information and give them at least a month to get back to us. With Christmas being involved in here, it's just, we all know it doesn't run smooth. So, Member Briquette.
Through the chair to Madam CAO, is there a time limit on this proposal to have this company do what they need to do for our township? Like, are they going to be booked up come the new year?
Madam CO.
Through the chair, I don't think so. I mean, they're definitely busy. They're doing the same work for the District of Muskoka. So I thought the timelines aligned. I guess I can see both sides. It's definitely an issue that I have struggled with because it's not a municipal issue, but it's so near and dear to our residents. So I kind of looked at this as being shovel ready for when the money comes, but I can see it both sides.
So I think, so go ahead, Member Paquette.
Sorry, supplementary, if I may, and that's great that Minister Dunlop is going to fight on our behalf. But in that report, like, my fear is because it's an election year and we've only got a few months, like they'll start campaigning soon, like without something in, like without a document to tell whoever is going to come into our township, like this document would provide. Like, I'm worried now, what guarantees are they going to give us that, you know, that they're going to provide that service for us? Even though there's $1 billion involved, I worry, like, where are they going to put these services? It's no different than the SWIFT program. They picked West Canal Road, they picked Canal Road, and they picked Severn Street, and didn't ask us for our input as to where we would want that service, knowing that we have lots of areas that are lacking. And with a document like this, we would know where the services are required within our township. And I know that you probably can't answer that question, Madam Chair. Now.
Did you want to answer that, CEO? No?
Sorry, through the chair, I don't know that was a question for me.
Okay.
No, I think it was a question for you, Madam Chair, because I'm concerned now that, yes, in an election year, the Premier's promised $1 billion for internet service, knowing that it's something that we all need, but how does it unfold? How do we know where he's going to put that money? Like, who's going to fight for Severn if we don't fight ourselves, and we don't have something like a document when these companies come looking to bang on our doors, and we don't say, well, we don't know. We don't know if there's no service over here. We don't know if there's no service over here. We know the areas that have service somewhat. And I think this provider will provide us with that documentation. And maybe the province is looking for that. Someone it's no different shovels, like you've got your diagrams ready for a build, waiting for funding, and you have the document in hand and go, well, they're shovel ready. And that's my fear.
So this is the message I got back from Jill yesterday after she talked to Minister Suma. She basically told me, as a township, you need to pass the permits that will come from the internet companies. You aren't the ones paying for it. It just allows us to go ahead. So it sounds like the government, to me, you aren't the ones paying. So you need to pass the permits that will come from the internet companies. So it sounds to me like the internet, and we only are going to know this through a letter to Dr. Suma, or sorry, not Dr. Minister, is that, so do these internet servers, have they gone out and done the preliminary, and they say, okay, we're going to come into Severn and we know there's some here, there's some there, this is where you're missing. It sounds like they are the ones that are going to do the, the research to find out where it's needed. Member Burkett.
Just to, through the chair, just to give council some information regarding the Cogeco one that's going in on Severn Street, Canal Road, and West Canal Road. What they've done is they were slotted X number of dollars. So in their proposal, and of course, everyone's out to get the most bang for their buck, they've missed Boyd Road. So the 6 residents that are along Boyd Road, even though they're providing internet service for everyone around them, the residents on Boyd Road will not get internet service because of dollars and cents.
Okay, Member Taylor and then Member Cox.
Yeah, I would support what Member Betsworth said. Let's not be in a big rush here. Put the letter forward, like we said, and take this as information, and this isn't going to go away. So I would support the proposal by Member Betsworth.
Member Cox.
Okay, so this is the Ontario Broadband Strategy. So the ministry is Ontario's near $4 billion plan to connect all of Ontario. Pre-qualified ISIPs will be able to submit plans through the RFP to IQ. So if we have to pre-qualify. Somebody has to pre-qualify. What it is this whole thing, and I can forward it to you. It was in the AMO policy update. And I went to the website, and it's an Ontario government website, and it's all there. It's just, I didn't even know how we could even get to it, or how it's going to, and what the lineup is, or how do we do this? I don't know.
So let's send a letter to Minister Suma. Member Burkett.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to Madam CAO. Based on what Member Cox has said, are they looking for a firm like that you've proposed here to present them with that information?
I don't know.
Yes, Madam Chair, Madam CEO.
Thank you. When the AMO bulletin came out, I went back to this particular provider and said, so what does that mean? Because I'm sure when I go to council, they're going to ask. And their answer was, there isn't a lot of details in there yet. So they don't know what it means yet. So I don't have that answer. And they think more details are still to come.
Member Burkett.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. So I'm curious if we could ask Minister Dunlop, based on the report that's written here, is it going to be advantageous for us as the Township of Severn to have this firm work on our behalf, so when those monies become available, as Member Cox has just stated, there are prerequisites that we need to do? Is that an answer we could get back before our meeting on the 15th of December to vote on this, if we defer it? Is that something that we could ask the minister?
Are you asking me or the CAO?
Yes, no, I'm asking you, Madam Chair.
Okay, so I need that letter like tomorrow, but I need you, I would ask that you send it to Jill's office, but I asked you that you would email it to me, and I will email it personally to Jill so that she gets it in her hand, by Friday or whatever. And then she can take it to that minister, because I think next week is their last week in the House. So if she can go across the hall and talk to Minister Suma, it'd be better than to just mail it or email it or whatever. I don't know. How does everybody else feel about that? Member Burkett.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. So I'm still a little confused because of what AMO had said and Member Cox had brought forward, and Madam CEO also spoke to it. Yes, they're going to provide, now I hear it's $4 billion from the original $1 billion, but how are they going to pick and choose which places they provide that service? Like, how is that going to unfold? That's what I'm struggling with.
I see. I don't know. So I don't know where AMO came up with that price, because I was at a function with Premier Ford on Friday night, and he said $3 billion. So is it 4? Is it 3? I don't know. They were words out of his mouth. $3 billion into internet in Ontario.
Supplementary, through you, Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
The firm, Madam CEO, that you brought forward, they would fight on our behalf, would they not, if there were monies available? Is that the way I'm reading this?
Madam Chair, or CEO, sorry.
Through the chair. So they have relationships, really. That's what it is all about. They have relationships that I don't have, and we don't have as a municipality. I actually found them. So I started with Rogers, who was working with Romera at the $500,000, and Rogers has actually worked with this company. So that's how I got to them. But they have relationships with all of these companies. So what we're trying to do is map what we have and we don't have, build relationships with those providers so that when the money comes, we can encourage them to go to the less profit areas. Like Member Taylor had mentioned, they're doing it for a business. They absolutely are, but where we're short is where it's cost prohibitive for them, where the payback is. Like, that's probably why they didn't do the 6 houses that Mayor Burkett is talking about, because I don't know, they were too far apart. They couldn't get their money back or whatever. So we're trying to build relationships so that they know we're here. And when the money comes, we've done the groundwork for them.
So, what do you want to do here? Oh, sorry, Member McIntyre.
Through the chair, I'm kind of leaning towards what Member Burkett said about for next week, the 15th. However, what Member Taylor and Member Betsworth said, let's not be too hasty here. If we could get some answers by the 15th, it's my feeling that if we're not getting what we want to hear on the 15th, we can then fall back on Mr. Betsworth, Mr. Taylor's, and the chair's thoughts about putting it over for another month or going the other way and spending what the member Burkett wants to do is the 18,000. So I'm in favor of a week. I mean, if the chair can get some answers back from MPP Dunlap, would be in great shape. So
I just text her if we could go on down through the others and come back up, but I know they're in the house. So if she can get back to me before the meeting ends, I just said, if we sent you a letter this afternoon, would you be able to talk to Minister Suma by tomorrow? I can't do any more than that. Member Betsworth.
Thank you. Through the chair, it's 1 week. Let's see what we can accomplish in 1 week. And then let's vote to go this route with the consultant next week at council, if that's prudent to do it at that time. But we may save ourselves $18,000 or $20,000 if we get something positive back from our MPP.
Thank you. So to Madam CAO, would you be able to get something written up today, like late this afternoon, that I could send off personally to Jill tonight, and then you could send it on to Minister Kinga Suman also?
Our best, yes. What precisely is council looking for this letter to say? Tell us, what your plans are, and how do we know that how do we know how we're going to be treated, and would us doing this plan that we have put us in a better light? Is that sort of what we're looking for?
Are we responsible to reapply for this, and should we come with in hand where we need to be, and how long is this going to, how long before this happens? Like, are you going to try and promise it before the next election, or is this an election promise? You can say that nicely, right? Or, you know what, even if it's not this government, the next government has to realize this is priority across Ontario. And they know that through the Board of Education, with kids supposed to be going online. Okay, I don't know who was first, Member Cox or Burkett, whoever.
Go ahead, Member Cox.
Well, I was just going to say through the chair that the other one is what is this program, and how do we get into it? Like it's out there, but there's no information on how you get into it. It's talking about sending out requests for proposals, and then in the bottom of it, it said, if you happen to be one of the municipalities that were picked, somebody's going to call you. So I just want to know, how do we apply to it? Like what is this program? That's all.
Okay, Madam CEO.
So just to be clear, I don't think there's municipal money in here, and I don't think we want there to be. Like, the money is for the providers, right?
Yeah.
So we want to know how we make sure that we get our share of.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah.
Money, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Member Burkett.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. So I think rather than mention an election, my concern is, yes, so the Premier said $3 billion for internet service. I'm not muted, am I? No.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
I think all I'm looking for is, how is that money, the monies that they're going to provide, how are they going to distribute it? Like, who's going to be first in line? Because I honestly don't think $3 billion is enough. So if a municipality has that information where the areas that are lacking that require internet service, is that going to give us a head start on the other municipalities? And we would show them the areas that we do have good internet service, and how do we piggyback with those good areas, the Rogers and the Bells that have the good internet service, how can they work together to bring those areas that are lacking on board? I think that's what I'm looking for. And if we had a consulting firm that had all that information and provided it to those carriers, are we going to be, I don't want to say first in line, but are we going to be at least considered for some of those monies ahead of some of the rest of the municipalities that may not have that information in hand? That's all I'm looking for.
Okay, so I just got an email or text back from Jill, and she said, yes, as long as she's in the house, I can go right over to her seat and give it to her. Otherwise, she won't see her. But I said, well, then can you go talk to her staff? We just need some answers as to, do you need all of our areas, you know, on a book and say, here you go, here's where we're short, or are you going to come in and do that for us? Right? Is that what we want to know? Yes, Member Paquette.
Thank you, through Madam Chair. Rather than complicated, I think a very brief, simple letter just explaining that, you know, we do have areas that have high speed. If we hired an outside firm to track our township and explain where the areas were lacking, are we going to be considered, you know, not, we don't want to be first, but at least part of that first round of monies that become available? How do we access that if we have documentation stating where we have good service and where we don't have good service? It doesn't need to be a lengthy or complicated letter.
Nobody wants to give in second. Let's go first. Okay, Member Cox.
Sorry, we're going to be second because there already got municipalities out there that they're starting with already, according to the bulletin from AMO.
Okay, so we'll, Allison? Oh, just a sec. Member Betsworth, you had a comment?
Yes, just to bring some finality to this, because we're talking 1 week. That's all, 1 week. Just to give our personal connections a chance to work. So I would propose a motion that says that this is going to be received for information and brought forward on the council agenda for December 15th.
Allison, do you have something there?
Thank you. As you've been talking, I've been crafting a motion for you. So I'll read it out. So it just says that CEO report number CAO 2021-06 dated December 8th, 2021 regarding broadband analysis be received for information, and that correspondence be sent to the province requesting information regarding their plans for internet service delivery, and further that the matter be brought back for further discussion at the December 15th, 2021 special council meeting.
Mover or seconder? Moved by Member Betsworth, second by Member Stevens. All in favor? That's carried. Okay, thanks, Allison. We'll go on to administration report A21-045. No, yeah. Yep. Read good neighbor bylaws.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. So this is a follow-up report to the November 18th discussions. So at this point, the development of these bylaws kind of shifts from planning over to clerks and bylaw. So given the list of bylaws that the consultants identified, staff have proposed a priority order so that we know which ones we start with and work forward from there. With the exception of the noise bylaw, we do have, as of last week, bylaws in place on the rest of the subject matters. They do require, some of them require substantial rewriting just because it's been a long time. As you can tell, a good chunk of them are nearing 20 years old. So it is time for some of them to be updated anyways. And staff did have some on their radar going into this winter anyways as well, such as property standards, littering, and clean and clear. But staff are proposing that we start with the noise bylaw, refinements to the existing parking bylaw, and then move forward with property standards, littering, and clean and clear, which will probably come all at the same time. They are big bylaws, but they're very much linked to each other. So we want to make sure that they're sort of delivered as a whole package. And then as we fairly recently dealt with fireworks and burning, they would be one of the latter ones that we would get to. But we would start with the ones that we don't have, the ones that are more out of date, and then move our way forward. And from there, it's really just direction from council. If they agree with the list, great. If not, then just let us know where you'd like us to start.
Member Taylor, you had your card up?
Yeah, I would start at number one. That's the biggest complaint, a universal complaint on all these Airbnbs. So that's focus on that one.
Member Burkett.
Thank you through Madam Chair. Number two is large as well, Madam Clerk. Because of these Airbnbs, what they're doing is parking out on the streets as well. I'm not sure how we're going to address it, but thank God we only have a few in Severn.
And I feel property standards is high on that list. Could you explain littering to me, how we're going to catch people littering?
Littering, and littering has more to do with our public parks than it has to do with general property standards. So this is refuse on our park spaces more than private property. So you kind of typically have a littering bylaw to balance out the public with the private lands that are covered under the other. The way we tend to patrol for littering is through summer bylaw enforcement in our parks, as well as we can enable our park staff to be able to report to us when they see stuff or something going on, that they can call us and we can respond. So bearing in mind that council has approved 2 bylaw students for next summer in the budget they just approved. So we will have the extra ability to respond to littering and parking and pieces like that going forward into 2022.
Okay, Member Betsworth.
Thank you. Through the chair to Allison. Would you suspect that drunken disorder might fall under noise, or should that be a separate category?
Through you, Madam Chair, drunken disorderly is and always will be an OPP matter. Whenever there are drunken disorderly issues, they do need to be reported to the OPP. So, and then they will attend. So we do not have the enforcement ability to attend those, or nor to deal with those crowds. And I think that's about it on that one. And also they tend to happen at the hours of the day that we don't have staff. Even with summer staff, we won't be responding at 2 a.m. or after midnight, which is when these issues on the drunken disorderly side tend to arise.
Yeah, understand. Thank you.
So I had a problem on Saturday in the village green. 2 people drinking, urinating, yelling, screaming. This was at noon. And I called the OPP. And guess where they're from? We all know. Anyway, you might as well just call the police on it. So is there anything else here? Are we happy with what Allison's got before us?
So in particular, I just wanted to make note that last week at council, when the fireworks bylaw came forward, there was some general discussion on that one. So right now, in this priority order, fireworks will probably not get dealt with before before we start into the seasonal season. Because the property standards, littering, clean and clear on top of the first 2 are a substantial amount of work on staff side. So just wanted to make sure that that was up to council's attention, given the discussion that happened at last week's meeting. So if council's fine with that, then I just have the motion that's in the report.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Through you, Madam Chair. So the property standards, are we literally going to have someone go around looking, or is it going to be complaint driven only? I struggle if we're going to go around looking for trouble. I struggle with that, but if it's complaint driven, that's fine.
Yes, Allison.
Thank you. Property standards in almost every municipality I know is 99% complaint driven, and that remains the same here, unless, to be honest, there's a house that we drive by every single day that is looking particularly horrendous, that you can't turn a blind eye to. Then we will proactively go after that one. But outside of that, we sort of let sleeping dogs lie until we get a complaint.
Thank you.
Member McIntyre.
Through the chair, thank you. In my previous life as a property standards chair in Mississauga, we had no complaints other than no activity other than complaints from the public, including if there was a shabby looking property like Sanford's, and we still did not act on it until we had a complaint. So it's complaint driven, totally.
Can the complaints come from councillors?
They can come from anywhere.
Yeah, thanks.
From the mayor, from the deputy, from anywhere. Thank you.
Okay. Allison, do you have something for us then?
I do. So the motion reads as presented in the report, and that's that administration report number 821-045 dated December 8th, 2021, regarding a good neighbor bylaws be received, and that the good neighbor bylaws be prioritized as follows: noise, parking, property standards, littering, clean and clear, fireworks, and then burning.
Thank you. Moving a seconder, please. Moved by member Betsworth, seconded by member Stevens. All in favor? Carried. Thanks, Allison.
Thank you.
On to F12 administration report. No, that's the next one. Okay. Verbal report from Councillor Taylor, re-garden suites temporary use. Member Taylor.
Okay, I sent an email to Allison and it's in our agenda here. Basically, this first query came to council in February of this year. Look at today's date, we're into December. We all are concerned about affordable housing. That it's been brought up. What can we do? And basically, the township council can decide on what is the amount of the deposit should be for this bylaw. And after looking around, I propose that the deposit be reduced from the current $15,000 to $2,500. Then I would propose that the existing agreements in place, they could be applied for a refund, less any applicable legal fees that would be necessary to change over the agreement. So basically, I think this has ran on long enough. We keep saying the township can't do, our hands are tied here and there, but we can definitely have a say in this one here. And I'll let the committee speak to that.
Member Betsworth and then member Burkett.
Thank you. Through the chair. If we are really wanting as a council to come into compliance with the federal and provincial governments on affordable housing, and we want to be kind to grandma and grandpa and the families to keep them together for a number of reasons, mental and physical well-being. My question is, why should we be penalizing grandma and grandpa $15,000 to move closer to their kids and to have a family commitment? I fully support Member Taylor's recommendation, and I think this penalizes our older generation, and I think it would go a long way to showing that we really are serious about affordable housing. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Burkett.
Through you, Madam Chair. Through you, Madam Chair. Thank you to both members for your comments, but I think the way we left it is that we were looking for a staff report to come back to us, and I think there's a little more to this than what's been stated, and I think we can get a commitment out of our staff to come back. I think, because both the deputy mayor and myself met with the CAO, Madam CAO, on Monday. If we had a commitment in March to have the staff report come back to us and then make that decision then as to which direction we should go, because I think there's a little bit more to this than just reducing the amount of securities. And I think Ms. Mandeville may want to speak to it.
Nice to see you pop up there. Ms. Mandeville, tell us what you've got.
Thank you, Chair Dunlop, to Member Taylor's inquiry. I just wanted to provide a little bit of context for the committee. As you all know, it's been an extremely busy year here in planning. So yes, that is on the abeyance list. And unfortunately, we haven't written a report on that yet. The rationale is a couple fold here for why we haven't prioritized that report. The Director of Planning and I did a little bit of research prior to this meeting, and we do only have 3 garden suites in the township. That have these type of agreements. So the first one is from 2016. It's a 10-year agreement. The second one is from 2017. It's also a 10-year agreement. Both of those are eligible for extensions. And then the last one, of course, was just from earlier this year, and it's a 20-year agreement. So each of these do have a legal agreement registered on title, which stipulates the deposit amount. So it's not a fee, it is a deposit. It's a security we take similar to other development applications. And the security is based on the amount it would cost the township to remove that unit should the property owners fail to remove it. So, removing the septic, removing the driveway, removing the actual unit, all of those things cost money. And if we didn't have a deposit account for that, basically that money would fall on the backs of everyday taxpayers. So that's one of the reasons we haven't prioritized that report, is because there are only 3 of them in the township. Council did approve a 4th one back in 2018, but they never completed their agreement. They never placed the unit. They never went through with it. The second reason really that we have not gone ahead with this report is council may be aware of the provincial government's bill for more homes, more affordability. I forget what it was called, Bill 108, I think. Council's seen a few applications for detached accessory dwelling units. The province essentially said the township should allow these detached accessory units. However, it is up to the township where and how we accommodate those. So as part of our new official plan, we are looking at how and where we accommodate detached accessory dwelling units. So a big question as part of our official plan review will be, are we going to allow these as of right on every property, or are we going to only allow them on certain properties? So if we do allow them, for example, on farms or larger rural properties, which is where we have these garden suites, then it doesn't make sense to right now alter those agreements, because essentially those agreements could be thrown away and these could become permanent structures if our new official plan is going to allow them to be permanently on all of these properties. So I think there's just a little bit of timing consideration there. Our new official plan is scheduled to be completed essentially at the end of next summer, and that would provide that guidance. So I just don't think it's in the best interests of these 3 owners to, us to redo their agreements if, in a few months from now or less than a year from now, they might be able to keep these permanently on their property as an accessory dwelling unit. And then we wouldn't need the agreement at all, and we wouldn't need any security deposit. So I think there's just a few considerations there, and it actually is a complicated report we were planning to bring forward, and that's why we haven't brought it forward. Because I think there's a lot of considerations other than, understandably, the owners are just concerned about the monetary aspect. There is a lot of different policy, legal, and even from our engineer, and who commented how much it would cost to remove all of these things. So there's multiple factors here at play in the report, but I do think an important aspect is if we're going to allow these to become permanent structures and permanent accessory dwelling units on properties, I don't think there's, a good argument to be made for changing these agreements, say in early 2022, when by the end of 2022, they might be able to have them permanently on their property without any agreement.
Okay, so I would like to see it go into our official plan and be allowed on, like you would say, a certain acreage. But these homes, these 3 that have gone up, like we're constantly hearing there's not for low income housing. Now, I wouldn't consider even these low income housing. They're beautiful places and they have septic beds of their own. We're not going to go in there in 10 or 15 years and say, get that out of here. And I hate to see people with $15,000 out if our official plan can get this through. So okay, Member Taylor and then Member Cox. Oh, does Katie want to speak before?
Sorry, Madam Chair, I thought I would just comment on your affordable or low income, as you said, housing comment. So I am Severn's rep on the municipal, I forget what it's called now, but affordability for the staff members. I know the mayor used to sit on the county council branch of the Affordable Housing Committee, and I was on the staff member branch of that. And technically the definition in the county of Simcoe for an affordable housing is anything below average market value, right? So when you look at the overall market value of a house in Severn Township, although those units that were placed are very nice, they would be considered affordable housing since they're below the market average of, a single detached dwelling within the township as a whole.
Thanks for that description. Okay, Member Taylor and then Member Cox.
Yeah, just a couple of things. Speaking to Andrew quite a while back, there are if removal of the suites were to take place and it goes over the deposit, there is a remedy with charging it to our taxes. So, I mean, there's a remedy that township can get their money back. And in all reality, can you, further to what the chair was saying, there's no way we're going to have these homes taken out because they're houses. And the other question is that the reason why I brought up that this has been tabled in February, this is December. Now we're saying it's the official plan, but the official plan could be appealed. This could go on another 2 years. And I think it's way too long that these people have their money tied up and they should be able to get it back.
Member Cox and then Member Burkett.
Through the chair, Orillia has an issue right now. They're building them anywhere. So I kind of like the idea of let's see where we're going to go with this. And I realize that the official plan could be challenged or something. But I think if we made a decision in the official plan and followed what Katie Mandeville has told us to, even if it was challenged, different parts of it were challenged, and that part wasn't challenged, then these people wouldn't have to go back to the lawyer, get another agreement, then come back. And then in June or July, we go, guess what? You don't even have to have an agreement. Now you got to go back and pay a lawyer again and come back. I believe that we should wait and see what we're going to come up with in our official plan. And then that way they wouldn't have to worry about anything. They're going to get their money, all of it. They're not going to put anything down. And it's only 5 months. And as far as how long it's been on the abeyance list, if you check out the abeyance list, there's stuff on that's a lot longer than that.
Katie, are you assuming this is going to be done in May or June? The OP?
Madam Chair, I believe the work plan has the OP done at the end of the summer, beginning of fall of 2022.
So more like September, October. So is this something now that the planners have got in the works that you're looking for suites, secondary suites? Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, to Madam Chair's point, absolutely. That was one of the things we definitely talked about during our public meetings and our visioning session. That was something that was covered within the draft report that MHPC brought forward. And it is something we have to contemplate given the bill that's out there from the provincial government. So for sure, that's something, regardless of this garden suite discussion, that we're going to be contemplating in our new OP. And we're seeing a lot of demand from it from the township's point of view. There will be next month or the month after an application coming forward for someone to build a standalone detached accessory dwelling unit on a rural residential property, very similar to the ones we've seen with garden suites in the past. So, I mean, that it is something people are interested in these days, and it's definitely something that will be contemplated fully in our new OP.
Thank you. I see our treasurer waving here. Andrew.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to respond to the comment made by Member Taylor. I don't recall this specific conversation, but I would suggest that as part of that conversation, I would have said that we would probably need to get a legal opinion as to whether it can be added to taxes in that event, because there's a limited number of items that can be added. And I would say off the top of my head right now, I would suggest this is not one of them. But I would have to do a little more research to find out if it can be.
Could you check into that, Andrew, for us, please?
Sure.
Yeah. Member Burkett.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, to Ms. Mandeville. The report that you're going to bring back, that you can bring back for council's consideration, because of Bill 108 and the province now allowing these accessory suites on I guess whichever property you'd want to have it on, is that something you can bring back for council's consideration in March so that we can have a better understanding of what's actually going on? Because my fear is, even as Member Taylor has stated, if we reduce it to 2,500, it still is going to be registered on title, is it not? And if so, and we, as part of our official plan review, now allow these without any deposit, that means that they would have to spend lawyers' money again to remove it, would they not? So doesn't it make more sense for council to wait? And if planning staff, and I know it's been a year or almost a year, they're going to bring back a report in March for our consideration with the pros and cons, and maybe by that time, as part of our official plan review, we can have more concrete evidence as to whether or not these are going to be allowed in our township.
Katie, did you want to answer that?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to Member Burkett's question. Absolutely. We can still bring back a report in March and we can outline essentially what I've been saying during this discussion item. And by then we may have a better understanding. That's a great point on where our official plan is going with respect to these, secondary or accessory dwelling units. But you are absolutely correct, Member Burkett, in that if we do alter the agreement to reduce the securities, because that is written right in the agreement registered on title. So if we do alter the agreement to reduce the securities, if we permanently allow them, we would have to go back and alter the agreement again, or basically get rid of the agreement altogether. So that would be additional legal fees. That's correct.
Member Taylor, and then Member Betsworth.
That was my question. If the official plan went through with these allowances to allow the garden suite, do the existing garden suites have to pay the legals on that too?
Yeah. Katie.
I'll let Katie answer that one.
Katie?
Yeah, through the chair to Member Taylor, absolutely. If any legal costs associated with altering that agreement or removing that agreement from title would be the responsibility of the property owner. So, if I was the property owner, I'd probably only want to pay for that once. If there was a chance that, this might be removed and indefinitely, I would be permitted to keep the second dwelling on my property.
Yeah, well, I guess the question is, what are the legal costs? Are they $100 or are they $500? And if I were to get back $12,500, that'll more than cover the legal costs.
Yeah. Thank you, Member Betsworth.
Thank you, through the chair. Katie, I don't really disagree with what you've said with regard. I'd love to see that in the official plan. If we have some assurance that that's going to appear there in line with the federal and provincial mandates. But the only point I wish to make, both you and I think, I'm not sure, Andrew, have stated that we only have 3. We had one other application. The only point I make is maybe the reason why we haven't had more is that it's at $15,000. And I'm suggesting if it was closer to what Member Taylor was saying, or not at all, we would have a greater proliferation of these. That's the only point.
Yes, Katie, go ahead.
Through the chair, thank you to Member Betsworth. I've spoken to a lot of people over the years of my time here at Severn about garden suites or granny flats, as they're sometimes called. And the number one deterrent people have is not necessarily the money. It's that they're going to put in a septic and they're going to purchase this unit. And then in 10, 15, or 20 years, they have to remove it. So, I did have an older gentleman one time tell me that he only needed a maximum of 20 years because he was 80, so he was good. But otherwise, people essentially say, why would you put that much investment into the property when, as of right, under our zoning bylaw, most properties can have a purpose-built accessory apartment as an addition to the home. Right. So that is an option a lot of people have done over the years I've been here at Severn. And most people who come in talking about garden suites or granny flats end up pursuing the accessory apartment that they can have as of right forever permanently attached to their house. So I think that's the reason, a big reason why we only have 3 of them in the township right now.
Okay. Any other Member Burkett?
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair, to Katie. In the report that you're going to write and provide to council in March, based on Bill 108 and our official plan, how do you feel about it being part of Severn's official plan as far as these granny suites and not having to have any deposit whatsoever? Like who like if we write it in our official plan, who's deciding authority to allow it to happen? Like who says yes and who says no?
Katie?
Through you, Madam Chair, to the Mayor or Member Burkett in this case. So ultimately, whatever policies we put in our official plan would then potentially allow some people as of right to put, permanent accessory dwelling units on their property that are detached from their main house. So it'd still be accessory. It would have to be smaller than the main house, but we would basically write policies in the official plan that would say who can have these second houses and who cannot. So, I mean, council is the ultimate deciding authority when you adopt the official plan. And, you know, generally by trade, I'm not a policy planner. I leave that to MHBC, the folks we hire to do our official plan. So I think Andrea and I, as part of the report that we're going to write in March, or coming for March, we would, you know, talk to MHBC and see if we know yet where we're leaning on this. You know, perhaps it is something that's appropriate on these larger properties that likely aren't eligible for severances, but perhaps are eligible for a second dwelling. So I think that's part of what we would comment on in March, but we would have to update our official plan and potentially even our zoning bylaw to allow them. We can't just, you know, do this through a simple staff report. We would have to do the Planning Act policy documents. So even though the provincial government comes out and says, we want you all to do X, Y, and Z, we have to still update our policies to then give effect to that X, Y, and Z. So it's not something that could happen in March with that staff report, but certainly, you know, that will provide the options and the pros and cons, as you said, to council about garden suites and also the future of accessory dwelling units on properties.
So, supplementary through the Madam Chair, if I may, I would like, before I made a decision on the recommendation that Member Taylor has said, I would like to see that staff report and then make that decision then.
Thank you. Member Taylor.
So looking at March here, which meeting are you talking in March? Council meeting on the 2nd, planning on the 16th, or corporate on the 23rd?
Through the chair to Member Taylor, I'm not sure. We hadn't gotten quite there yet.
Well, I'm looking ahead. We've waited almost 10 months, so if we can have an answer in March, I think I can go with that, even though I think the consensus of the majority of committee think the 15,000 is crazy.
Okay, so if Allison wants to read us what she's got, or CAO, did you want to say anything? Or are you okay?
I did, thank you. I would suggest it would come to Planning and Development Committee. That seems to be the most appropriate place for it to come.
Perfect, thank you. Okay. Allison, would you like to read what you have? And
give me one moment here. I'm drafting as we go. I had to hear your conversation. So,
okay, well, she's drafting it. We can get ready for our committee reports.
There we go. So here's a draft. So it's just that staff report back to the March 2022 Planning and Development Committee meeting regarding the garden suite. Sorry, I'm getting my words mixed up. It's been a long day. Garden suite temporary use agreement, security deposit, and any official plan implications, if that'll cover it off for today.
Is that all right, Member Taylor? You've got that? Or do you want to read it?
I didn't see a date on that.
It was March 2022 Planning and Development Committee meeting.
You okay? I'm mover in a second. I don't think can I have a mover, please? Moved by Member Burkett, seconded by Member Betsworth. All in favor? Okay, that's carried. Okay, let's move on to committee updates. And we'll start at Ward 5 and come back.
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. Very little report except that on December the 18th, West Canal Road is having their second annual food drive parade from West Canal Road all the way down to Canal Road to the Lock 42 restaurant and back. So they were encouraging people after 2:30 to meet at the end of their driveway with their food that they want to donate to, I believe, again, the Orillia Food Bank. The 18th, 2:30. A nice parade last year, snowed like the devil, but I'm unfortunately unable to attend it because I have a previous commitment on the 18th. It's a Saturday. However, I would encourage anyone who wanted to donate anything to this particular good cause to make their way to my house, which is on Canal Road. I'll give it to you the address later, or what later. My name's on a sign out the front. So I encourage anyone who want to make any kind of a contribution to a very worthy cause that they do that before the 18th. And I'll make sure that Maurice Richard and Carol Beasley, his partner, get whatever is donated, and I'll take it down to their home.
So just a
Oh,
question.
well, by the way, just further to that, along with the Madam Chair and Member Taylor, we did do the trees and so on Ushago on the main street, Muskoka Street, and one at the entry to the community center, as well as the welcome to Ushago signs, snowmen and so on. Grand day, good time. And it looks great. And I've had several comments about those trees just appeared there somehow. So I thought that we had a good day and it looks very nice. We could do more for beautification of Ushago, but at this moment, it's about all I have.
So you get your thinking cap on for next December.
Oh, I have, and I would bring it up at a different meeting, not this one. Thank you.
Okay. Then we go to Member Stevens. You're muted, Ron. Just hold your space bar down. There you go.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you very much. I have been asked by a member of council to present a request here or an advisement as to something that's going to go on in Washago in the near future. So if you don't mind, I'll try to get through this, and I hope that you understand the importance of it. It was initially put together by a girl on our recreation team called Wanda, and what it says is COVID vaccine clinic is coming to Cumberland Beach. It is also pleased to announce that Ontario's Go Vax team will be running an indoor vaccination clinic on Saturday, get ready, December the 18th from 10:30 to 4 p.m. at the Hope Community Church on Cumberland Avenue in Cumberland Beach. Please share this information with all of your family, friends, and neighbors. For example, if you live in Cumberland Beach, please go over to Bayview Park and spread that word. It's a wonderful thing. We have the pastor of the church, Steve, to thank for this, and as well as the other church members who want very much for this to happen, and they're asking that you all contribute to this, and we have it put it part of a beautiful, beautiful Christmas. So I'm going to turn this back to the chair, because I just said I would read it, and we'll leave it up to her as to where it goes from here, okay? But that's...
Okay. Do you have any committee updates, Member Stevens? You're mic'd again, Member Stevens. Just hold your space bar down.
You're muted, Councillor Stevens.
I'm...
There you go.
There, is my machine broken? Is that the idea?
No, you go ahead. If you got any committee updates, we'd appreciate to hear them.
No, but I'll make sure they're in the office on Monday morning. Thank you.
Okay. Member Betsworth.
Thank you, through the chair. Two or three things. We had a very successful welcome to Severn and Orillia new docks that have gone into Coldwater and into Orillia. And we had a lovely dinner that I wasn't able to partake of because of a testing apparatus that I had to go through, and I won't go into all of that. But Member Cox was gracious enough to substitute for me, and the mayor went, and apparently the reports I got back is that the doctors were delighted with the reception and the dinner that they were given. And I think good bonds were achieved there through Member Cox and Dr. Friesberger and Member Burkett and Dr. Howard. So it was a good night. I stayed at home and had a bowl of soup. So, but other than that, with regard to Otis Park, we're trying to tee up a meeting between staff and the Otis Park, a couple of directors, to try to resolve some outstanding issues. And I'm hoping that that will be accomplished before the end of the year. I would also like to give a shout out to Member Cox, who was gracious enough to Christmas decorate the Marchmont welcome sign. And also she's done that with others as well, but I had a chance to see that and it looks great. That's the end of my report. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Member Cox.
Yep, Lake Country, we're in the middle of doing a strategic plan to figure out where we're going and get our goals for the next 3 to 5 years. The Chamber, I was on the Santa Tour committee and that worked out very well. And they had the Festival of Lights and the Santa shops in Orillia. We're talking about the Business Achievement Awards in March or April. And we also did the Choose Local campaign. The boat show this year will be half the size it usually is because of a lack of new boat inventory, but they're still going down. We're making plans for Christmas in July, Christmas in June, Halloween in July, and the other pirate party in August. They're having trouble with the invasive weeds there, so they're getting a weed, it takes the weeds out, and they're buying a boat so they can pull it around to do it. They're hoping that the city will lower the costs, overnight parking and that, so that more people can come. The Couchiching Health Table, they're in the middle of the fragile patients. We're pretty well covered that one, and the next priority for 2022 is palliative care. And that's it.
Thank you. Member Taylor.
Okay, Coldwater Mill, we are making plans for June 2022, the gallery grand opening. It's going to be great. We now have a full complement of directors, so we have 9 full-time directors on board, so that's good for there. Seg Bay meeting, the November meeting was rescheduled to this Monday, December 13th. And Hamlets and Villages, I work with the Deputy Mayor in Coldwater on the 24th. We did trees and decorations, and on the 25th, the Deputy Mayor and Councillor McIntyre, we worked together and we all paid for our own lunch though, but it was a good day.
Okay, Member Burkett.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. I sit on the Affordable Housing Committee, as I forget who said that, but if you drive by the old ODCVI, you'll notice that they've started to work. So I think completion sometime around 2023. Also sit on the Lakes Simcoe Regional Airport. Exciting news. There's some things I can't tell you, but what an asset for not only us here in Severn, but for the whole county. They've widened the airport by 50 feet, and they have plans of extending it another 1,000 feet, but just very exciting. And again, I can't say what was said in camera, but stay tuned. Some great news coming. That's mine, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. So there aren't any county council meetings in December, but I sit on regional review. We just did fire last Friday and did land use on Monday. Just so you know, the fire, it's so complicated, and some of the fire departments are union, some of them aren't like ours, they're volunteer. So what we decided in the end as a committee was to bring it back to our local councils. We can talk about it, send it back to the regional review task force, and then take it on to the county. There's just like, there's too much, and I didn't want to be, and I'm sure everybody on that committee didn't want to speak up for everybody else. So that was interesting. Land use planning was good, and it'll all be going to the county in January. Tomorrow we have an MCR meeting at the county. That's at numbers that they're going to give us that we can work with. And then it will also talk about natural heritage. I watched that Orillia annexation meeting. That was really interesting. I think so. Oh, the BIA meeting, that was just carry on as usual. Everybody's doing their thing. The library, what I found really interesting about our meeting is that we deliberated over how much the Severn would pay the city of Orillia. We went with 2%, put it in, got a letter back. Don't worry, we're not going to raise you 2%. We're going to stay with status quo, which I don't know, Member Stevens, if you can answer why they decided not to take the increase, but they decided not to. So that was interesting. And that was my December so far. Okay, any questions for anybody here? Madam CEO, oh, Member Betsworth.
Sorry, thank you. Through the chair, I don't know whether this will be reported on by the CAO or it will be an item in the council meeting next week. But I'd like to know, with the bit of a shock we got from the county with regard to DC, whether or not this is going to alter in any substantial way our mill rate and what this does to the taxes. Thank you.
I don't know if, I know the county's going, they want to go up 3% next year. And I think by the complaints that they're going to stay with 2. But it's the same thing. If you don't keep up, we're behind, because last year there was a 0% increase, and then that's when it hits you in the face. But I don't know. I would like not only the county, I would like our township departments to come in next year at 0, and let's try and straighten this ship up. I don't know. Lori, can you answer Member Betsworth's question?
Sure.
Or do we need Andrew?
Through the chair, if I get it wrong, Andrew will correct me, I'm sure, but we were aware of what the county was planning for the rate and had already factored that into the rates that we gave council, and the development charges don't relate to the mill rate. So I think our mill rate should be just about where we projected it to when council passed the budget.
Thank you.
And we can have the 0 discussion next year, because that puts us well behind inflation, which is never a great thing, but not for today's discussion for sure.
No, but so just back to Member Betsworth, it was in that, like in the land use planning, that was one of the major things, was if you're not getting money back to run that department, so you're charging the person that's needing you, if you're not getting that money back, you're in trouble. And you could see on that list today, the people that were way down there, that's not a good thing. Anyway, it all costs us, but it'll cost you more if you want to do something. So I guess we go into closed session now, Allison. Or do we need?
I believe there's the CAO update to go.
Oh, I'm sorry. I jumped right up. There you go. Madam CAO.
That is, well, I popped up. I had nothing specific to report on. We're crazy busy with everything, but nothing specific to report on. Coming into the end of the year, lots of developers, residents are trying to get all of their projects wrapped up. So that's keeping staff busy. And they're also trying to get their vacations in because they were too busy to take them this year. So it's been crazy. And to Member Betsworth, we do have a meeting with Otis Park set up next week. So I think we're good to go on that.
Excellent.
Perfect. Okay. Closed session.
Thank you. So the motion reads that committee resolve in a closed session and that the meeting is hereby now closed to the public pursuant to the Municipal Act SO 2001 Chapter 25 Section 239 Bracket 2 for the purpose of considering A, personnel matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board, and B, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board.
Mover and seconder, please. Moved by Member Stevens, second by Member Betsworth. All in favor? That's carried. Thanks. Okay.
Give me one moment just to put us in suspension here for our broadcast and move some 1 second here just to restart the broadcast. Okay, so the motion will read that closed session adjourn at 2:35 p.m. and that the meeting is hereby now reopened to the public.
Mover and seconder. Moved by Member Betsworth, seconded by Member McIntyre. All in favor? And okay.
Okay. Next motion is that administration report number A21046 dated December 8th, 2021 regarding 2401 Telford line be received, and that 2401 Telford line be denied a new kennel license until the required zoning bylaw amendment application is completed and approved. And further, that 2401 Telford line be denied a new kennel license until the required site plan control application is completed and approved. And further, that a 2022 license not be issued to 2401 Telford line until they come into compliance with any and all orders from the Animal Care Review Board. And further, that staff be directed to bring forward an amendment to the canine and kennel bylaw restricting the number of dogs permitted at a kennel in the Township of Severn.
Mover and seconder. Moved by Member Stevens, second by Member Cox. All in favor? That's carried. Adjournment.
Oh, no, we have a couple more to go. We have to, one more coming out of close, and that is that Cheryl Elliott Fraser be appointed to the Culture and Recreation Advisory Committee, and that the required appointment bylaw be brought forward to the next meeting of council.
Moved by Member Taylor, second by Member Cox. All in favor? That's carried. Adjournment.
One more. No.
Thank you. Okay, so that's that. This meeting being is hereby now adjourned at 2:36 p.m.
Moved by Member Cox, second by Member McIntyre. All in favor? Have a good afternoon.
Thank you, everyone.
Is carried. Bye-bye, everyone.
See you next Wednesday.
Yeah, for sure. Bell's on.